Time to give it to ya. What's happening? What's happening? Booyah! What's happening, good people? How you guys doing out there? Y'all know who it is, right? It's America's favorite podcast about Afro hair. We're talking about the dumbest hoo-hoo that Black people say about Black hair. We are back. We are live. We are still newly about the Afro Hair Summit, and today this is what the podcast is all about. We're just going to catch up on the Afro Hair Summit. No ticker to roll on this time, Cheryl. Okay, go ahead on and get started with Miss Lovely Rachel Evans, and you know what she says, sister. If you guys notice something new about my hair, we'll talk about that. Sisters, let me do your hair. You ready, Cheryl?
Yep.
Yeah, let it play. Here we go, guys. Here we go. It's playing. It's coming. Hold on. Hey, come on in. We know it's hot. It's hot all across the U.S., but pick up your phones and push them earbuds in. Come on. And we gonna get it going. Get it on and cracking. Hey. After the Afro Summit. Woo! I need a pick. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. I've been through so much about this Afro hair. Y'all like that Panamizer? It's some good Panamizer. Hey, what's up, Miss Sandra? It looked like I was really singing it. Check this out. All right. We're just gonna let that kind of roll for a minute. Bam. All right. I just like the way that saxophone. Maybe the next time when we really come in, we're just going to let that saxophone just get everybody all sexy. Instead of sexy, we wanted to get everybody all sexy. So this evening, I am with my wonderful, wrong finger, PNC, the one and only, the illustrious Cheryl Morrow, and we're going to have a dynamic discussion about the Afro Hair Summit. I have some wonderful clips. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. And next week, I might have to go ahead on and advertise next week, because next week is going to be Ooh, this was going to be real. I don't know. So today we're going to be conservative. We're going to kind of bring it, and then next week we're going to be like Terminator X, buck wildin'. Valley of the Jeep Beats. Remember that? Terminator X, Valley of the Jeep Beats. As a matter of fact, speaking of Terminator X, did you know that Public Enemy is has been they celebrated 50 years of hip hop at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and so they had PE was in the house. The Spinners, we talked about that the last time. The Spinners are actually going to be what is that when they bring you into the Hall of Fame? So they're going to get their roses. If you don't know the Spinners, I pray for you.
Whatever.
Because the Spinners, oh my God, I just love the Spinners. But anyhow, speaking of spinning all the way around, let's talk a little bit about, let's just hop right into it. The Afro Hair Summit, there's the poster, there it is, somewhere over here. It was absolutely
Amazing.
amazing. Sandra, let me just tell you, it was like no words, no words, no words, no words. So, in case you guys are new to the platform, welcome. It's me, Ladosha Wright, aka Key Lolo, and you have Cheryl over there, my PNC, Cheryl Morrow. And last week, we had the blessed opportunity to host the very first ever Afro Hair Science Summit, and let me just tell you, it's 3 days of sheer amazing. So here's the thing, Cheryl. A lot of people cannot wrap their mind around Afro hair science. They just can't, because hair is hair. That's all we've been told. And so, to people who are new to the platform and they just can't grasp Afro hair science, can you just kind of give them what the hell is y'all talking about? Okay, Kilolo, because ain't no Afro hair science. So hair is hair, and there is no. So people are saying that like we don't get it. So in a nutshell, or somehow, some way, can you really just tell them, what is Afro hair science?
Afro hair science is chemistry, biology, genetics, skin, scalp. It's anthropology, it's history, and it's just all of the beauty, cosmetic sciences wrapped up in one, but it's based on the Afrocentric start of everything. And it is to make sense. And I think I've repeated many times during the whole weekend. You want to get taught and oriented and educated so you don't have to memorize things.
Right.
So it's to make the terms, the language simple so you don't have to remember it. And it just brings it all into a discipline that is based from curly to straight and not straight to curly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that,
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, at least it opened up our eyes to another way of thinking about scalp and hair and skin.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that's Cheryl's way. Okay. Y'all know Key Lolo got a whole nother conversation about what Afro hair science really is. Okay. So that's from the educator standpoint. But to those of us who work behind the chair, now, if you are not a licensed professional, ain't sense. You want to know why? It ain't for you, okay? This Key Lolo. Now, this is for the licensed professionals and students,
Mm-hmm.
because the language, the understanding, you have to have a backdrop of the actual hair, the function of the follicle. So if you are not in a cosmetology school or a medical school, or if you're not getting any training on natural hair styling, this conversation would seem like, well, I don't get it. And that's what we don't want to happen no more. We don't want this to be on social media getting all mixed up, and then people start adding their own science, if you will, and then mixing it up. So to me, Afro hair science was not only taking what we are influenced by. You know what? Let me back up. I'm going to say me, because there are going to be some cosmetologists and barbers and natural hairstylists and some students of all the disciplines who may respectfully disagree. So I'm going to back it up, and I'm just going to put everything on myself. That way, we're not like, well, I don't think like that. I don't think like that. So for me, Afro hair science, when Cheryl has a quote saying, it's going to literally take everything that you know and turn it upside down. That is exactly what Afro science is. So number one, in my world, when it says turn it upside down, I have my 3 talking points of how Afro hair science that turn it around. Now, if you are a licensed cosmetologist, then you will know what I'm talking about. If you are not licensed, then this is going to be a little bit confusing, because you don't have the premise from where I'm coming from. So this statement is specifically to licensed professionals and students. So the Afro hair science, when we say it turned everything upside down for me, first things first, because I received my first lessons or education about my hair from at home. Okay. So all that got turned upside down. It was like, oops, upside your head. Say, oops, upside your head. So it turned it upside down. Number 2, the education. Per Cheryl's statement, when we learn about hair in school and when we go to advanced classes, the bulk of it is definitely from the premise of straight hair, like hair cutting, hair coloring. Everything is coming from, if you're going to manipulate that hair straight, even like braiding, so to speak, any type of hairstyle, it's you're always going to stretch it. Not many people are braiding hair wet.
Okay.
And not many people, even if you're locking the hair, you're still going to end up drying it. Okay. So so to me, all of that got turned.
Absolutely. I think she was trying to say upside down.
Just yeah, upside down. And then the last thing that was turned upside down would be the way I apply my knowledge.
Okay.
So the biggest thing that my takeaway from it was, what I've been doing wrong as a cosmetologist is that I've been so influenced by layman terms. That's one. And then 2, I have been very much a lazy thinker. So when you were asking us to take the science and apply it to what we are doing, it was really agitating me, because the hair care companies, they tell us every damn thing to do. And in Afro hair science, you can't do that. And so to me, that was the biggest takeaway. And if you are a licensed cosmetologist, if you understand, then put that in the chat and say, yeah, if you disagree, if you are a barber or maybe even a student or a natural hairstylist, and if you disagree, I need you to put that in the chat, because maybe you know something, maybe you was taught something that I didn't know, so to have to take the that the science, and move it out of the biggest was like the opening and closing of the cuticle. Cheryl,
Yeah.
um, so take us from there,
Hmm.
so people can kind of just get a good feel. That I have some clips, um, just a good understanding of what I mean when I say how companies, they just tell us this is the benefit of the product. We'll just, I don't want to put a company on blast, but let's just take some Afro hair water. You
Right.
should have got some. It was delicious.
I did.
And so, what's going on, Miss Howard? Come on, stop on in and say how we appreciate that. So, let's just say the company is going to sell this water, right? And they'll say this water will hydrate you, it will give you electrolytes, and it will help with cellular communication, right? You could use it on every hair texture and type. So, what I would do as a cosmetologist, just say if you got an electrolyte issue, water. If you have a hydration issue, water. Okay. If you need some cellular communication to help your hair grow or be strong or shiny, water. Why? Because that's what the company said.
Yeah.
Well, then here comes Cheryl that says, now let's use the science of that. And I'm like, so Cheryl, take us from there. Why, why did you, why did your dad, because definitely your dad's, you know, teaching,
Absolutely.
why did he feel it important? Because that took, I was such a lazy freaking thinker. So he think that to be important, that we actually apply the science and not just
Hmm.
the sale.
Hmm. Hmm. The operative word is apply. So if you can apply it mentally, well, then as a cosmetic professional, you have to apply it with your hands. And so to get the results that you normally get, or you're expected to get, or you want to get, you have to be able to take this and apply it to this. And I think that's the disconnect. But chemicals and ingredients and substances are to be manipulated. But if you don't have the connection, all you do is do the cookie cutter instructions, and you don't get to be a master at manipulation and at cosmetic application, because you're supposed to apply it. You're supposed to put it on the hair, but you're supposed to be making the ultimate decision on what to do, when to do it, how long to do it, when not to do it. But you can't really make heads or tails of those things unless you understand the hair that you're doing, the texture that you're doing, and all of that. You don't know how to apply it in a way that gets the results that you want, not the results just because it's clean. Okay, the shampoo worked, but you don't know the shampoo really is supposed to do what it's supposed to do, because you don't know how to decipher from what you were told to, you guys think that, hairstylists think that applying something means just follow instructions. No, it means cater, change, enhance, transform. But you're supposed to do it with the thought, okay, this is, hot water versus cold water. You're supposed to be making those decisions. And then you're supposed to having the result that you want. But Afro hair science, as you guys can see, I didn't let you get away with just following instructions. I wanted you to be able to think in a result and out of a problem. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted you to resolve. I want you to solve something. And how do you begin to solve it? And you obviously can't have intellectual laziness, because you can't just listen to what a manufacturer. They're only telling you one step, two step, three step, four step. That is methodology. That's not really training the cosmetologist to be a master at substances and how to apply them to get certain results. when and how you want them, even though they said don't do it like this. You are ultimately in control, and I think that that is the difference. And it's going to take a minute. I think
Mm-hmm. I hope you guys are noticing my face because I'm like, dude, it was very uncomfortable.
was
It,
it?
it was very uncomfortable because again, I'm speaking for myself. I'm being very, very transparent. I mean, my entire career from the moment he left, because now I was able to apply it. The
Mhm.
entire salon, it is a completely different environment. Um, and, for me, working in the salon, one of the biggest excitement about working in the salon was access to all of these products, you know, and the thought that maybe I could become a platform artist or an editor for a company, like, because I'm a really good talker, and I love to learn. And
Mhm.
so, but in those spaces, you can't do what you're requiring a professional to do, which is, by the way, what we want our doctors and dentists and attorneys. We want them to take our very own personal situation and apply what they know about laws and
Good
things
point.
of that nature, and to solve their specific problem. For me, my biggest thing was, I'll say nothing. What's up, Tondo? Cafele, so nice to see you. So here was my biggest issue. I'm just saying, y'all go. Y'all know Kilolo. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was saying this, Cheryl, you acting with the church's money. Because my thing was, all of this that she's asking us to think and apply and do, you know, take your knowledge and apply it to everything that you touch, you use, you turn on, you plug in, everything. You're going to take all of that $25,000 of education and you're going to use it. And I was like, well, kiss my ass and call me crazy. I got to think. And that and it was amazing how much was in there, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't just me. I mean, the students were just dead on it. I
Mhm.
mean, just challenging us in potential hydrogen, helping us understand, you know, what are we seeing? What are we saying? All of these things was just totally, completely different. It was better than a light bulb going off. You know
Yeah.
how they go, light bulb. This was more like something internal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me, it was every single person in the room. We started to see ourselves as like, maybe I can do math.
Mhm.
Always said I was horrible in math, but I left there feeling like maybe I'm not so bad after all.
Yeah.
Chemistry, I would never even entertain chemistry, but you were able to get us, you
Mhm.
know. So go a little bit into that, and then I'm going to play a clip. So just talk about that high thought thinking, because I thought, well, if I do all that, then I ain't gonna be able to be cute, because y'all know I'm vain as hell. Come on, anybody call themselves Key Lolo and they think they're cute, okay? So I'm like,
I,
how do you do all that and be cute? What the hell? Come on, this is the beauty salon.
the
Duh.
young man with the hydrogen who answered the question, what was pH? He thought that his definition or the definition was it. He just thought that that was just it. But the next subsequent question I asked him was for him to understand, but what does it mean to you? And how do you use it? And if you just have it in terminology or a definition, it's not useful. You really can't use that principle, pH. You really can't use it to make you a master at your chair. How do you use it, and what does it mean to you? And so that's when he began to understand, I cannot just know the definition. Merriam-Webster does not teach. It only gives you definitions. And he knew by the time I asked him the second question, but what does it mean to you? He knew that was completely void. And so that is what Afro-cosmetology asks of us. Afro-cosmetology must demand what the meaning is, not the definition, not the definition of the word, not the dictionary, but how do you use it in application behind that chair to make your career wonderful and profitable.
Mm-hmm.
That was
right. And I would say for me, some of it I just really didn't know, and one of the things that made this education process so dynamic is that you did not make us, no, you made no one feel bad or embarrassed for really just not knowing. I mean, you got those that was getting it, you encouraged them to like speak up, say it out loud. We were able to talk to people who ordinarily wasn't able to talk to, learn from people who we ordinarily wasn't able to learn from, and we could see that higher thought. Now, when I say high thought, guys, I'm not merely implying that barbers and cosmetologists and natural hairstylists and doctors, that we're like stupid people. I'm just saying that don't talk to each other like that. When we say a product, we're like, yeah, pass me the protein with a pH of 4.5 or like an acid rinse. We'll talk like that. But we really don't get into applying. Is that what you're trying to do? Are you trying to make it alkaline, acidic? It was just really interesting to see how people's like, well, no, I don't know if I would want it to be 4.5. Well, how would you know? I mean, it was just like we were really talking like we were smart. And we had better choices to make behind the chair about who, what, when, where, why, how.
When your scholar expands, you ask better questions. Then you get to better answers. Then you answer the question yourself. It's all in there. You've heard things before. You just weren't taught to put them together for a benefit.
Yeah.
Or a result. Yeah.
Excuse me. And that moved us from buy, sell. Yeah. Because the customers, you guys complain about the hair salon. First and foremost, as always, now remember, this is specific to Afro texture hair. Number one is always going to be manageability. Number two is going to be time. And number three is going to be money. So that is how our business is built. But you know what? You can and you can't decrease on any of those three things. Apply the knowledge. And what we were doing is we were following the instructions and directions. I hope you guys are following what we are saying, because when you take the science, you can probably break those three things down and save so much on all three, and so that was pretty powerful. So let's play a clip about immediately we were in the car, and here is what. Now these were people that we met. We didn't know. We was helping, giving each other rides, pretty cool. So after we were done, one of the volunteers gave us a ride back to the car. And here we go, Cheryl. Cheryl doesn't know, but here we go. Coming back from the Afro Hair Summit, she done went college deep. What you say again? Now
college deep.
She went. That's she going.
She
went college deep.
Dropout.
Danny, what you say? Was it deep?
Yeah, for sure.
Man, it was like
no words.
No words. I mean, it was speechless. I'm like, is she saying that? Yeah.
That texture thing had Ladosha going.
Oh man, she was. It was. I couldn't understand it because I'm fixated. It's like I'm stuck on stoop and the park on down.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
The texture is not in the coil. I'm like,
What you talking about, huh?
That is
Like,
back
say
to
that
the true
again.
definition of porosity.
Oh my goodness. Not the kind you put in the bowl. You know what I mean? The kind you pluck and put in the water. Hell to the no. So that, I hope you guys play that and just kind of hear, like, that's not how we ordinarily talk. That's just not our everyday language. And so the porosity, you mean not the kind that you're going to put in the cup and float, and the texture is not in the in the coil. And Ladosha I was dumbfounded, like a lot, but a lot was opening up. Be honest, I'm just again speaking for myself. It was just mind blowing, and I really have been applying and more clearly behind the chair in those terms of science and chemistry and health. I mean, anatomy, and understanding, happening with the interaction on all of those levels, not just one component. So when you think of moisture, you're pretty much just thinking pH, but now you're saying go higher. Think about molecules. Think about the health. Think about the body temperature. Think thermogenic. Think money. Think time, and you make a much better choice real quick. And the customer gets to see that. And it was just absolutely, because we're applying it, behind the chair. And our team, it's almost like I don't know. I haven't been in a relationship. So I think it just kind of, it's like when okay, let's take like with your parent. How your parents make you really, really mad, and you just can't stand their asses because they done just checked you about something. And then you go back, and then you and your parents are like, you do understand, and you're like, yeah, ma. Or you may have a falling out with your family member that y'all just kind of hash through it, and then everything is cool. That's how that was for me. Because it was very uncomfortable, because I just felt like I knew so much. And you let me know that you do know, but your application can go, your thought processes can go higher as you begin to use a little bit more than what's on the back of that bottle. And it was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I think too, when people in this country talk about Black people in education, we Black people have a different relationship with education, because our education is twofold. People don't forget that our process, in order to expand or prosper or whatever, it's really a process of unlearning. And so when we try to apply something that really applies to another person or another group or another collective or another texture or another hair or another strand, we can't just get education. We have to get an education process or an orientation that allows us to unlearn. Then we have to relearn. And so educating Black people on something that they have been miseducated on, it's an unlearning. And so I think the Afro Hair Summit was more unlearning and then relearning. And then now we have to train these little 10 fingers to do the opposite of what we were taught. And so the process of muscle memory, it's almost like, Fatu was trying to get us to do the mop technique, but the fingers wanted to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The fingers even had to get reoriented, because our fingers are trained a certain way to create a braid. Some do it clockwise, some do it the other, and it was just completely like, okay, I had to just like take these 10 fingers and talk to them and just say, okay, I can't just do that easy thing that I want to do it. And everybody was saying, I know. So our education process is taking something out, leaving it blank, and then allowing Afro hair science to be redeposited, reinfused. And that's
It's
yeah, it's crazy.
it's really, yeah, it's you know what, guys, it takes a lot of courage because it is to be different for anybody who's working on Afro hair, especially when you are, like, for me, again, I'm just going to myself, I'm constantly introduced as the hair expert. I'm always introduced as the forward thought thinker. I'm always introduced as the author. I'm always introduced as the educator, the colorist. So all of these adjectives, and they make me feel really good. And 23 years, I was pretty up on the throne. And so Cheryl's position was not so much that we want to take you down from the throne, but now that you're a quote, because people put you there. I don't call myself that. People introduce me as that, and then I'll just put it in my bio. I'm just talking about me, okay? So, it's better if people tell you you're these things, right? You don't want to say this to yourself. Warning. Okay. So now that I'm up there, so Cheryl is saying, now explain. And I'm like, or explain the expert part, explain the author part, explain it, And so that is where you really get to push what Wayne Dyer would say, what irritates you most is your master teacher. So when you're uncomfortable, now you're learning. So I'm going to show you guys a clip of what happened during the Afro Hair Science Day. That's what Cheryl, the third day, where we actually learned Afro hair science, and the lesson began with the Crown Act / hair discrimination. And when I tell you, it was words, not almost a dry eye or a heart wrencher, a tug on the heart. So here is afterwards, the first break and a little bit. So here's the clip. Let me just show you.
This product was only for what we call the white class. And it's called what? Nigga hair tobacco.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I
know, right?
So beautiful.
That was a relatable, astounding moment. Yes.
Cheryl be so deep, man. I'm telling you.
The mirror has 3 parts, people. The stem, which is held in the fist, signals your ground.
Powerful. And so nothing we've ever heard about Afro hair. And I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just giving you guys the realness of what happened. And when we did the goal was to invite professionals, but we couldn't get them to bite the bait. So versus having the space, we decided to invite the students. And so once the students came in, then the professionals that taught the students, it began to, grow. Yeah. And so the audience was so diverse. Let me tell you guys, the audience was just about every ethnicity was in that room, minus an Asian or Chinese or Korean. I hope I'm saying that right. I shouldn't say Asia because that's a big continent, but Korea, China, like that. Okay. But other than that, you had Russians, you had Germans, you had Dominicans, you had Puerto Ricans, you had biracial, you had gay, you had straight, you had bisexual, you had rich, you had poor, you had Kilolo ghetto ass up in there. Everybody was represented. And when I tell you, this woman right here made everybody feel welcome, that tearful moment for all of us, that first part, it was just so powerful. And we've never been taught like this before. And some schools did not want to even send their students because they said, we teach that already. Let me tell you something. You're not learning any of this in any school. And so, talk a little bit just more about why you feel or hope that we can get more of this other angle. Nothing against what we've learned. But remember, guys, we need more education. And I'm telling you, I did not think there was anything else, because I've been looking and I've been traveling around the world and I've not found it. Of course, it's always in your own backyard. But anywho, why this addition? Why should it be there? Because as you can see, it was deep, y'all. It was deep.
Yeah. I think curly hair and naturally curly hair, Afro curly hair, is so human based. So it's an indication of the most human portion that kind of makes us really the most zenith human evolution on the planet. And so to learn science from it is not about racial divides, because we all have it. We all have, and if I can take the word texture from you and put variation and then put dominant, because that's what geneticists and scientists and medical doctors and forensic pathologists, that's what the language they use, because that is actually what it is. You can't mess it up. But if we can understand that if the world's first people came from a certain continent, and that certain continent had a certain blueprint that nature chose, not race chose, not God having a personality making the chosen people. No, nature makes things to the point where it is always in a dominant state, so it can replicate the allele and the gene pool. That's just the way it is. And so once we understood that and we all got on that same page in that room, then we began to all relax and be able to say, you look the way you look because of a gene expression in a variation, not the fact that we are a different species. Where only personality and ego makes class. We're all human. And so when we talked about that and we got that out of the way at the Brown Aveda Institute, I think we really hit it hard. That's when we could begin to say this is a human historic. This is about history of human development. It's not a history of race.
And that was so hard. It was hard for me because of the black hair.
Mm-hmm.
The term, I'm just speaking for myself. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking for myself. And I see some wonderful people in the chat. I don't want to mess up anybody's name, but I'm going to try. Joe, I know I'm saying it wrong. Let me just.
I know some of those concepts.
I'm just messing it up. Okay. Silent. So I'm messing it up. So she was there, and so she thought she was it was very touching. Tara was there. Let me see. There it is. Okay. She thought she was the only one crying. Hey, Danny. Danny was there. That was him in the clip. That was her voice in the background. And it was, I mean, um, so for us, this is really hard to unlearn because when you're told you're like, you're at the bottom or an ape, which it don't bother me that you think I'm a monkey because, hey, I am. Okay, but anywho, but in that derogatory sense. So for those of us who have been associated with that, number one, you're not a human. You're Negro. Negroes were not. It's a color. It's no location. And then you're just always last. So you want to told we God's people. We was on the planet first, and we was first. That's been my. Now I don't say that behind the chair. I will be honest. I don't. But in my heart, I'm just saying, y'all. Y'all know me. I don't care. I was first. And so to have to unlearn that it is not, it's not, as the word you kept using was political, but to me politics meant Democrat, Republicans. So I was just getting confused, but that's not what she meant. And so that was really, really hard for a lot of us because we wanted, like, sure, don't take away we was first. We want to be the black people who was first. We don't want to be the genes. And so the genetic part, it just, because you got to think about the other people who were in the room who are not, quote unquote black. And it had to bring us together. And you could see the togetherness because the white people who were there, they just tired of being accused of being damn racist. And here they were in a space where they were just as dumb as we were, but nobody was made to feel bad. Who told everybody that we don't have to carry it? I mean, I don't even want to cry right now. But it just made everybody go.
Yeah, I think that was the town hall. That was the question. I
No,
think
that was the end when you did the end of the end of the hair discrimination, and you gave, you said you're not to take anything away from what they're doing with the Crown Act, but we
right.
don't have to carry all of this racism. And I mean, we kept reiterating it throughout the weekend, but that to me was very powerful. So before I the next clip, talk just a little bit more about the dangers of the dividing hair into race and black hair, because we love black hair and we love we got black hair natural. What has been the consequence of racializing hair for the industry?
Well, you get to weaponize it.
Ooh.
And when you weaponize it, you create a dichotomy. And when you say something is curly and straight or curly or wavy or whatever the case may be, one becomes preferred over the other in terms of social classmanship. And then things become standards. And then when you don't fit into the standard, then you're marginalized and disenfranchised. And then choices become scarce and options become scarce. And then you're made to feel like somehow that your type of beauty is not wanted, or it's not desired.
Preferred. Yeah, preferred.
And
Yeah.
so you don't have combs that you're supposed to have. Then you don't have tools you're supposed to have. And then you don't have proper products because everyone is serving the standard. And so that is one of the reasons why even our European cousins do not know themselves because they have not had to. That's one of the things that I think we talked about too. That's privilege, not knowing, having to know about somebody else because you don't have to. We have to know an array and a variation in a wide spectrum of things and people and traits, their needs, their desires, their wants, their characteristics, their attributes, the things that are affinity to other people's culture and not ours. It's because, and that is when you start dividing things in terms of, a race. But when you put things in science and you put things in genes, well, what were the first genes on the planet? Well, I did nature and source choose a very dark, very dominant prototype. Why? Well, if you choose that prototype, most times, if you want a variation of lips on the planet, well, then you got to make the first one big and full. You can't have the first very thin and and very small and thin and because those types of traits don't get bigger as they evolve. Things get smaller as they evolve. And
Wow.
so once you understand nature has its own insurance policy that things will continue, so they make things dominant, and then so it has an array and a lot of room to make some variations. And I think that we made sense with that. And then once that keeps the emotion and the fire and the vehemence out of the racial dynamic. But when you don't,
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I definitely walked away that race has no place anymore. And someone is in the chat. I'll say that. I'll put your comment up, Miss Tara. But it has no place in the language of hair ever again. And that's part of our responsibility is to help change the narrative. You challenged all of us, or you asked all of us to be use our space chair more responsibly, more lovingly, more inclusively, and to start removing that language. So black hair and wavy hair and kinky hair and nappy hair, stop using that language and just help them understand, like Tara said, which one was first, because nature gave us the most genetic expression, meaning what we see, in the world by making that texture tightly coiled. But if you like the information and the education that Cheryl is sharing with you guys today regarding the Afro Hair Summit, the Afro Hair Science Summit that happened here in Cleveland, we just want you guys to do this.
Pump me on, pump me on.
All right, again, I stole that from my homeboy, Mr. Asar M. Hotep. Don't forget to go check him and Sister Dr. Mayat. They're right here on the channel. Also, check out our homeboys, the Suda Killers, our homeboy Kofi Pass TV of the Masi Warrior Clan. These are all of our wonderful friends right here on YouTube and all the other social media platforms. So let me just show Miss Tara's comment right quick, because I really, really like that. Thank you guys so much for partnering with us. But the comment she had been telling her clients last week was giving them an example of a curl and pulling it straight and asking them which one was first. And so this is a way that we can begin to remove race and saying black hair and wavy, kinky, curly, which was first, and then how was it, began to express in all different variations that we get from mom and dad. So it's a genetic expression. The race, the texture and type, all of that is really about making the companies very rich. And as you can see, it's being very divisive. And so this way we get to be all inclusive, because I'm going to show the video. If you can kind of just go a little bit more. I don't think there's any sound to this, Cheryl, but this is the one where you talked about our fingers, our muscle memories. So Fatou Sangay, she's here. She's actually having some lunch, so she might be finished. Fatu is here from West Africa. And so the first day was about West African braiding métier, where we got to learn how to do mop braiding. So mop braiding is spelled APP, mop braiding. And so this is the braiding technique that birthed cornrow braids. And so remember, my whole fight for 23 years has been for us to get more education, because you cannot tell Black people that we did not have this braiding thing down to a science. You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, we can braid some hair. And so the lies that we've been saying about like cornrow braids being used during the slave trade to do maps, Fatu is like, no, stop saying that. They did put food in hair, but there's a little bit more to that than what we've been told. That's another narrative, not the American narrative. But let me just show you guys a video. Now, mind you, let me just say this before I show you the clip. We are in a barber college, a barber college. So let me just play. It may not have sound, so here we go.
Other side. Wait, one more time. One more time. All right.
Fatu, ask her, can she say the directions out loud and slow?
That's our lead right here. No, it's always going straight. She shot it to the back.
Okay, so once you're done with that piece, you put it over to the
I don't even know what I'm doing. She like, but
I hope you guys could feel just watching that clip. That room was packed with like over 50 people trying to get
it's hovering like
it was
what is she
people, but we didn't think we would get that type of a response. Well, I didn't. Cheryl, of course, she was already like, Ladosha, you're gonna have to have more classes about this. But anywho, I just wanted you guys to see the excitement. Especially when you say things like, well, barbers don't braid and barbers don't, and cosmetologists. And we just want to show you guys that we were able to really, 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 truly fight the industry like you just really would not believe. So can you just kind of go back? I know we're going back and forth. And again, guys, we're talking about the 2023 Afro Hair Science Summit. Talk about that whole, how that is for us as Black people when you just think you know everything. Like, I could not think outside of cornrow braids, and what you saw with us trying to not just automatically fall back into cornrow with our fingers, that muscle memory. Can you help us with that struggle? And this is why for natural hairstylists, I was fighting for you to have that education, because they're lying to us. We're not getting our full just when it comes to education. So help us with that, Cheryl.
I think we saw that you were not going to learn that technique in a weekend. And you also learned that the mop technique, now we only got to one. I think Fatu was prepared to teach maybe about one more or two more. But we learned that we do better. We're visual creatures. And you notice that after the first introduction of the history of the mop, Fatu didn't speak much because she spoke with her fingers. And at that point, the students began to be so engaged, because when I say muscle memory, I'm saying that we have to role play because we're visual. You could not teach that on top of, just a bunch of text and theory
Mm-hmm.
and armchair. You had to put your hands in it so you can get the coordination of your fingers with fatu in your ear, and it's just repetition. I have a colleague that always said, it's not hard, it's just new. And
Mm.
once you understand that, that means that you have to practice. And then Fatu can do that technique with her eyes closed.
Right.
That's because the science now is not just thought, is embodied, and now she's practiced it. Now it's just memory. The
Mm-hmm.
memory is in the body, it's in your hands. And I think that that was really extremely important, that, Afro hair science is 360-degree. It is mind, it is spirit, it is body, but it must be exercised. And once it's exercised and you keep practicing, even the mental stuff that we were talking about this week, last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
it is practice. And so, and the only thing that's different between a medical student and a resident and an attending physician, his or her years of practice. So the ears get trained. The muscle in the ears starts to hear symptoms. The ear starts putting it with a prognosis or a diagnosis. And you get accustomed to hearing certain symptoms and you get to the conclusion faster than a resident would or a medical student would. And that's that muscle memory I think that we need in Black cultures when we're talking about ancestral and African descending type of cultures that we have been educated from. We educated back to it. Well, then we think that it's just Black stuff, and I just need to,
Right.
we teach that already. No, you don't.
Right. Yeah. And that to me was to see it unfold in real time, where, because people really kind of felt like, well, maybe I could just watch and see and just get it. But once they realized with the mop braiding, what Cheryl was teaching was how the skull matures, the skin matures with the. And so this particular braiding technique, without all the science, our brothers and sisters, our mom and dads over in my, they knew this. And though they were not using words like the skull and this, they knew that coming back on that braiding, coming back, you can't do this on a skull that's maturing and a skin that's maturing. They knew you had to get in front of that and hold that muscle and not pull that baby's hair and compromise that. And so it was just really challenging because of we're so used to coming back on the braid, and we thought we could be light. Well, what if I just go lighter? And the amount of products that we were using. Maybe you could speak to just a little bit about, the goo that we were putting on the hair. We use so much products. And for me to not have to, y'all, listen.
Now, didn't we have a very young client? Maybe what was she, about
I'll
3?
show that. Yeah, I'll show that. Oh my gosh. We got a little time, and I hope you guys are really enjoying this. Yes, Sandra, it was intense. That was really hard for a lot of people. Like, why we ain't using, why you're not pushing every single class, less was best. So talk about, we're just, we got shampoo, we got conditioner, we got leave-in, we got oil, we got hairspray, we got fixatives, we have gels, we have creams. Help us with why we just didn't need all of this, excuse me, y'all, shit. Because y'all know me, I'm going to sell some stuff because I felt like we needed all of this thermal protectants and, hairspray. Now, you need a little, but not so much. So talk about that struggle that everybody was having with all of this goo that we're just used to putting and selling on hair.
Well, I think that was one wonderful client that we had at the Brown Aveda. And here's the thing about very thick, very curly hair, and she had a lot of it. And she began to be discouraged. Now, she loved the fact that she had a lot, but no one ever trained these and educated this so it can go in concert and work together so she can get a technique on how to clean her scalp and how to do it in a time period that allowed her to start to finish in a time slot that would not take over, you know, 2 hours or an hour and a half. Okay. And so we began to talk about her exclusively and trying to allow her to get the full results with less product. Okay. Learning the principles of water and what water does and what water cannot do and what it should not do. I think we learned that water should not be a part of your conditioning process.
Can you guys believe that? I mean, in the chat, come on, guys. Don't fall asleep on us. Can you guys believe we had to learn about be more responsible with understanding how water works? Can you guys believe that? Put yes or no. Can you believe we had to learn how to use water properly? Because let me tell you, when I went to Africa, they called me a water pig. I know, Sandra, a water pig. Yes.
Really?
Too much water, a water pig. Okay, Cheryl, carry on. Thank you, guys. Just wanted to make sure we wasn't losing you. So, yes, so a little bit more on that water.
So, in natural hair, the first thing that we use is water. And so we went to the science of environmental sciences. I think we went into that, and we chose to focus on heat, and we chose to focus on water and how we can use those two things or not use them to achieve what we want. And water is a styling enemy of Afro textures because water is charged and water triggers the coil. So the hair relaxes back. It doesn't shrink. It is relaxing. Now, that kind of tripped up the white students because they think that when Black people say relax, it means that it's on our shoulders. In Afro science, relaxing is when the hair goes back up to the follicle or close to it, depending on how long the person's hair is. But that took a minute to wrap our minds around that. But if we know how to just use the shampoo, part it, and especially when you have a lot of hair like that client did, Aja is her name. She had, it was dense.
Massive.
It was long, and her scalp looked like it. She looked like she did not have the skills. And so we had a nice little consultation while you guys were doing the other clients. And we had to take her to grade school, just like she was like 5 years old. And this girl is about at least 28, 29, 30 years old. And she had to relearn.
Right. And that was for all of us. So just we're talking about relearning. Now, remember, we told you guys it was it was just so diverse. So here's the clip where you guys going to be. I don't know if there's a sound to it, but let me just play the clip. And again, we're just trying to unlearn, what we've been learning about hair. So here we're watching this whole phenomenon take place. So here we go. Let's see what happens. So
and that's our 3-year-old. What, she's about 3?
Yes.
About
3 years old.
And guys, She got it. She said, what? She kept repeating.
She was like, oh yeah, she was like, scalp. Was it scalp first? Which one was it?
She
What was
said,
it?
okay, one follicle, one
One
hair.
Yeah. She kept saying it. She was able to repeat that. Yeah, she was going one follicle, one hair. And just to let you guys understand how easy and quick and pain-free that mop braiding technique was, do you know that baby? She sat through that class for that demonstration for about 40 minutes.
That's right.
With all of these people around her, and Fatu was navigating the entire training, and not one time did she cry.
Yeah.
With
and she was a crier, I heard.
Yeah, she was just oh gosh, she comes to the hair salon. Let me just tell you guys, we have to brag her with so much candy, and you know what grantees do, So again, this was just an amazing learning experience, none like no other. So these were some of the things that we most certainly had to unlearn. We also had the opportunity, again, there were doctors and in the room. We also had one of our supporters who actually gave us the space, donated the space from Case Western Reserve University. So let's hear what Miss Christina Austin had to say about her experience at the Afro Hair Summit.
Hi, I'm Christina Austin. I'm the Director of Community Outreach here at the Case Comprehensive Cancer Center, and we were so excited to help host the Afro Hair Summit along with Ladosha Wright. We think it was a very informative and important summit, and we're just glad that everybody was able to be here. One of the reasons that we were excited to host is because we have a partnership with a lot of the Black barbers here in Cleveland. They've been helping us to get the word out about the importance of prostate cancer screening, and this was our way of giving back to them. So we were glad that everybody was here today. It was a great opportunity. Thank you.
It was.
Yes.
I'm telling you guys, so big ups to Case Western Reserve University, Dr. Onamusi, and also the wonderful Miss Christina Austin. Absolutely phenomenal group of people. And like I said, the learning environment was absolutely like, ooh, oh my goodness. So here's another, oh my goodness. We have about 15 minutes left. And this is also, we're just going to kind of build up. You would like to take that class? Yeah, well, I'm here learning it. And let me tell you, I'm learning the map braiding. Cheryl wants us to be able to have like a training manual step by step. Oh, gosh. I have been here since 9 o'clock this morning. I still have not got mastered the mop braiding, but I am going to have it before Fatu leaves. Fatu is extremely patient with me because my brain yes it is. Thank you. I'm just gonna call you DA because I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, but yeah, but I'm going to learn it. I'm not going to give up on myself. I'm going to learn it. But let me show you just a little a clip of this. Is we did have a wonderful guest who showed up. And this was Mr. Elliott Forehand. So he promised us that he would show up. In case you don't know who Elliott Forehand is, he is the Ohio State representative where we had a heated exchange about education for Afro hair science. So I'm just going to just of him talking to Cheryl. He did show up. So it's just a little clip just to say he actually showed up. So here we go. And so Cheryl, what were you were talking to him just about textured hair?
I think in that moment that was a memorable conversation because I wanted him to understand that language is very important, and that how you were talking about the great gift of education and he was talking about hours and that you guys were not talking about the same thing, and he so agreed. He didn't realize that he agreed with you, and he and that was an appropriate conversation because that was at the Afro spirituality conversation part of the weekend. And we have to understand when we're talking about the socio-political issues, and we're talking about training and education. Training falls in the hours of exposure. Ladosha is talking about the quality of the education in expansion. Those are not the same thing. And when he really understood it, he says, well, we didn't have a disagreement. I says, no, you didn't. I says, but hair and beauty and blackness and whiteness, when you stay in race, you're triggered. Because the racial conversation is triggering. And when you're white, you're trying to mitigate guilt and shame. And when you're black, you're trying to mitigate shame and guilt. And we're all trying to get to a place where we can find a common ground. I have eyes, you have eyes. My eyes is brown, your eyes is brown. I said, so Mr. Forehand, what is the problem? And then when you say it like that, and you just like, you really like, shit, I don't even know what happened. Okay, well, that's why race has to get out of it, because we're triggered. And before you know it, we're into behavior patterns and
things get lost. They don't even get to be translated because we're all on the wrong page in the first place. Right. You heard it here first. Typing hair with textures and numbers, curly, kinky, 4A, 2A, out of here. Okay. Black hair, white.
The word natural. It's natural. It's got to go.
It's got to go, guys. And I know, like I said, I'm like, now, you know, you're messing with the church's money. And it's not. She's not messing with the church's money. As a matter of fact, the church ain't going to have no money. Did y'all hear what I said? The church ain't going to have no money if we keep keeping on. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to end it. And I know you guys are like, are you telling me you want us to stop calling hair curly, kinky, wavy, straight? Yep. Are you telling me not only can we not call it curly, kinky, wavy, straight, we can't go 4A, 2A, 3? Nope. And now you're saying we can't say black hair, white hair, and we're saying no. We've got to stop it. And I think DA said it best when she said she's now showing her customer the example of genetic expression by simply asking the question, which one came first to give us the most variations?
Right.
Not textures and types, but variations. So DA, because I can't pronounce your name, thank you so much, because this is what Cheryl asked us to do to help change the narrative. So with that being said, we're going to build up to our next podcast, which is about the epitome of the dangers of that term, natural hair, textures, and typing, because we are pleased to announce that here in the state of Ohio, we are actually working on a bill.
Yes.
Probably the first ever in the history of the United States, barbering, cosmetology, and newly natural hairstyling education. We are writing a bill that will require the education on the science of naturally curly, hair. Okay. So we know we have to give it an adjective so people can know what we're talking about, because we're used to saying that now. But we're going to.
I want to say, ironically, so Tuesday, I spent the day in the salon with them. So here comes this Russian.
Yes.
Russian man. People. That hair, that white man, Russian had, I'm sorry. That falls into Afro curly hair. And he's Russian. And so I want you, we were trying to wrap our minds around, you are you're in 2023, you're still the closest to the original gene expression. Okay, so what? That's the beauty of it. However, you don't own it. You're just the purveyors of it. And once or as you would say, that by you in the description, I think you use the term, the progenitor. You're just the original person that evolved, that was spat out of the source, the universe. You're just that person, but you can't own it, because the more you fall in love, you get relationships, and you go through other people, and you that gene, that beautiful gene that Africa gave you, it's gonna express. It's gonna be light eyes, green eyes, gray eyes. It's gonna do whatever it wants to do. You don't get to design your child. You don't get to design it. And once we understand that nature is at play at that point, and I think that this generation is ready. And let me just say this. I'm so glad it was students, more students than professionals, because the students are tomorrow's cosmetologists, they're tomorrow barbers, the tomorrow natural hair stylists, if that's what you want to call it, the Afro natural curly hair stylists of tomorrow. They have to be equipped with the fullest variation and widest, fullest capacity of knowledge that is that's out there. As the world gets browner again, nature is going to go back to ground zero again. Has nothing to do with nature not liking Europeans or Russians or Asians or Eskimos or Native Americans. It just loves to give you a kaleidoscope and a mosaic choice and whatever. I mean, I don't have all my great grandparents and grandparents were dark people. Now, how the shit did I come out? That's Africa. That is just so by chance. Mother, the genes just gave me yellow. That's it. Yeah. But guess what? She didn't. She didn't short me on the what? On the Afro natural. Right. It's thick and long. But that's just going to show you. I still got the full lips. I still got the, the personality. But I think if we can just talk in those terms, that is the age of Aquarius. We're gonna talk into ourselves, into our destiny, into our bliss, into our joy, and make this world a better place. Absolutely, I believe that.
Right. And so Ebony, she was there, and I'm just going to read this out. She said, I changed those narratives this week with my clients. They really appreciated my knowledge, and I was happy as well that I am able to unlearn and relearn this love. And that's really, guys, what Afro hair science is really all about. Thank you so much, Ebony. And Ebony is newer in the industry, as far as a salon owner and entrepreneur. And even as a newer salon owner, entrepreneur, and me being a older, owner, and then, we have DA is in the house as well. We have Danny. There's a lot of professionals, and we all, had to unlearn and relearn. It was very challenging and exciting. And we hope that you all will spread the news and share with your barber, cosmetologist, natural hairstylist that Afro hair science is very real. We are going to have Afro Hair Science Summit 2024. Hopefully, you guys will invite us to your city and we can repeat this. We feel like we really have a good grasp on how to do things a little bit differently next year. And we are also so proud to announce that we are going to be introducing that bill. It doesn't have a name yet, but we are going to introduce a bill that's going to teach Afro hair science to licensed professionals and students as well. And when the time comes for us to roll this out, of course, we're going to need you all support and making sure that this education is accessible to everyone. So, but the only way we can have that conversation about the bill is we have to we have to go more into details and depthness about this term, and it's just so bad, y'all. This natural hair, and I know we love it. I hated it. I just said it 1,000 times, and I'm gonna say it again. I can't think of anything more stupid than taking something and natural hair and slapping it on a one quote unquote race of people. I'm like, Black people, what the hell was y'all thinking? Now, when we come back next week, we're going to tell you why that was just so dangerous as we attempt to write this bill. Now, we're going to write the bill, but as we hope it will pass. And so, and Elliot, he was out there just, letting everybody know that he is committed to making this happen. And he is not playing. And so, that is where we're at, because Cheryl just highlighted a little bit in the beginning about the dangers of it. But Cheryl, do you really think it's important that we go a little bit deeper into the dangers of this whole term, natural hair?
Well, we're going to talk about the industrial dangers because it doesn't invite technology. You're stuck. You're stuck with weeds and berries. You cannot move and develop really good, groundbreaking technology because assuming natural is only food-based.
And Black.
Right. And then, well, I'm talking about industrial. Then you have cultural dangers, because it doesn't make you part of the human family. That's number one. Two, it makes you own it, and no one else has. So now I don't know what Asians have. I don't know what Brazilians have, Latinos have. What do they have if we are going to own the word natural hair when you are the genetic parents of it, when you are of African descent? And Africa is what? The cradle of civilization. And then the other social, well, what do Black people with straight, wavy, and smooth and straight, thin, curly hair, what do they have? And do they have natural hair? And then you have the cosmetic dangers, because what? Is natural hair just chemical free? What is it? Is it virgin or is it untouched? But then the political dangers, because we don't really want to realize that natural hair from 1999 until the present day has never been defined by the natural hair care community in terms of anything that makes sense, that's logical, that's rational, that is scientific based. And I think that they have made cosmetology an enemy. And I think that that's who they went after by saying natural hair. They meant chemical free or free of chemical treatments. And that in and of itself is not a socio-political statement and is not designed to discriminate with people who decide to chemically enhance or chemically treat their hair. And forensically and medically, I can't not take your natural status out of your hair.
Oh,
do that.
Oh,
so we're going to talk about all of that. Hopefully, and I hope it's a nice dialogue, because I hope the natural hair care community can come to, and whoever's locked, whoever's braided, whoever's twisted, and whatever those things are. And then the other element is that natural hair is just not a hairstyle. And if it is, why would you fix yourself into a subgroup apart from the other cosmetology constituency, where you can get all that, the bills and acts and benefits and things of that you want to improve the industry? Well, you just isolated yourself. So none of it makes sense. And I think us moving forward, we're going to embrace it all because Africa is what? The cradle of civilization. It is the continent with the largest diversity human beings on the planet.
That's it. Period. End of story. Okay, guys? But we have more. So we're going to be back next Monday. That's right. Next Monday at 6 o'clock. And we are going to talk about the unnatural.
Will you be in Los Angeles?
Here. Say what?
Will you be in Los Angeles?
I wish no, I can't. I have so much to do. So will you be in Los Angeles at 6 o'clock? Should we reschedule? Can you do so Cheryl's checking her schedule right now. Will she be able to be live at 6? If not,
it is that. Yeah, I think it is that Monday.
Okay. So do you want to
be in Los Angeles?
Okay, so do we want to do Tuesday, or you want to look at your schedule, or?
Hey, girl, we can do Sunday.
All right, so we can do Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Okay, and so we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about the natural hair. All right, so we're gonna see you guys Sunday, and so we're gonna move these things around, and we thank you so very much. You know what we say when we're always signing out? We're always talking about a whole lot of peace, a whole lot of love, and for sure, a whole lot of hair. But check this out. If you ain't got it, don't want it, can't grow it, hell, you're planning on cutting it off. You got them bald patches. You know how that is. You got a patch here, you're receding. Hey, don't you guys worry about all that stuff. It doesn't really matter because all of that is beautiful too. And so are you. We'll see you Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. in the chat. Bye.